Three, two, one. Clint, how are you, man?
I'm good.
Today we have Clint Alexander, the owner of RetroGrade. And because you have so many stuff to talk about, so I will let you just introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Clint Alexander. This is my shop.
Yeah.
And I've been open for about 3 years in this location and another couple of years in a smaller location. So here we are.
Where did you first start? Like when you came here to Egypt?
Where did I first start the shop?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I rented an apartment, and downstairs the landlord had like a little a storefront. It was his daughter's coffee shop at one time, and it had closed. And I was looking at that thing, and I was thinking, well, I could probably open an art gallery or some kind of little shop there. I live right upstairs. And so we talked about it, and finally, he said, okay. And so I had my own little record collection, maybe about 100 records and 50 books I'd brought from home. And so I cleaned the place up and displayed my records and opened the door.
Yeah.
That's how it all started. Out of necessity, basically.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, well, because I came to Egypt for a teaching job,
Yeah.
teaching art, and I was kind of burnt out on that. And I said, well, how can I make money here?
Yeah.
You know, how can I make money and stay at home and make my art and meet new people? And so that's what I did.
And something that you love as well.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
that I love. I love music. I love books. I love art.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. We displayed it. I just opened the door
Yeah.
and just waited and saw it and waited for people to walk in and look and say, wow, these are records. These are, these are cool. And so it took a while, the first couple of months. And what I ended up doing, everybody who walked in, I would get their number and their email. And I made like a little mailing list. And I thought, well, after I get 100 phone numbers, I'm going to make a WhatsApp group. So
Yeah.
so when I get new records, I can
tell them.
I can post them and people will know I'm getting new things. And so
Yeah.
that's how it started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about your childhood. How did you grow up, and where exactly did you grow up?
I grew up in East Texas, outside
Yeah.
of Houston. Yeah, out in the country on a cattle ranch, on
Yeah.
a farm, yeah. I was raised
That's-
by my grandparents out there.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's-
Plus, we built our own houses. We, I guess you could say old-fashioned,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Back to the earth. So it's a completely different world than the world we're living in
Exactly, yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
I'm a long way from home, man. But in a way, I've created the shop is a similar thing,
Yeah.
It's all handmade,
Everything here is handmade.
Everything is handmade. I built the furniture to hold the records and the bookshelves, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Oh.
What was interesting, I would always read books about ancient Egypt.
Oh, yeah, tell me
so,
about it.
It's so ironic that I'm here now, But I would always dig around in old houses. I wanted to be an archaeologist, and we would go hunting for arrowheads, old Indian arrowheads and things. And now that I think about it, I'm sitting here. In a way, my shop is kind of like archaeology, but urban archaeology, in which I'm going around. I'm finding these little treasures.
Yeah.
All this stuff basically comes from the streets of
Yeah.
Cairo,
Yeah.
But I'm curating and I'm picking the stuff that I like, not just anything. I'm picking the things that my customers would like as well, as far as the books, the records, the record players, the typewriters, cameras, etc. So in a way, I'm kind of an archaeologist.
Have you ever
all.
thought like when you were a child? Have you ever thought that one day you're gonna have like your own shop in Cairo?
No, never.
Yeah.
Never.
How was everything started? Like you just told me about that you came here for teaching.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me about this one.
Well, when I had graduated college, I had an art degree. I went to graduate school. I got my master's.
Yeah.
I
Also
was
from Texas.
From Texas, yeah.
Yeah.
From Texas. And I got a job at a college lecturing art history and painting. I was married at the time. And my life was it's fine.
Yeah.
I was 30 years old. So I was kind of old to travel abroad more than most people. When they get out of college, they go and
Yeah.
backpack.
They just exactly.
So I was already kind of settled. And so what really brought it on, I ended up getting a divorce. And when I got a divorce, I got hung around for about a year. And finally, I'm just like, fuck this, man. I have to start over somewhere.
Yeah.
I have to do something new. And one of my students actually told me, she's like, oh, well, you can teach anywhere in the world. And I had been there in this little area of Texas. I had no idea, man. And so I started getting on the internet, looking for jobs in Asia and Europe and the Middle East. And for some reason, I focused on Egypt. And I said, well, that might be interesting.
Exactly,
So-
for the archaeology.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Just the history of it,
Oh yeah.
And I started applying for schools. It's a funny story. And I actually got a call back, and a guy in Ismailia, a school in Ismailia.
Yeah,
I
that's
forget the
way
name
far
of the
from here.
School. Yeah, very far from here. Wanted to hire me. They said, we'll give you an airplane ticket. Just come to Egypt. And we'll have somebody pick you up at the airport. And man, you know, from a country boy from Texas, I'd never been on an airplane before.
Yeah.
And so I went straight from the farm in Texas and landed in Cairo airport at 2 o'clock in the morning.
How old were you at that time?
30.
30.
I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I'm 48 now.
Mm.
And
It's like 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I walked out of the airport, I'm like, holy shit, man, this looks wild, you know? It looked wild. And there's a couple of guys in a microbus there ready to pick me up.
Yeah.
He picked me up and they just flew to Ismailia in the middle of the night. And I have to say, it was scary, kind of.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It was kind of
You
scary.
you are like, it's like you are in a different country. You are in a different place. You are in different like culture. Everything is
Yeah.
just different.
Completely different. I don't
Yeah, yeah.
understand anything anybody's saying.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
remember when I got off the plane in the airport, I'll never forget it. And I was looking for the bathroom, and I walked in, I guess the mosque, and I just walked in with my shoes on, and somebody screamed at me, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? You know, I was completely oblivious. I was naive, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know how this...
And you also didn't know any Arabic, right? You
No,
didn't have
zero.
any. Yeah. Yeah.
None. I never heard it in my life.
Yeah.
You know? That's something funny about the language as well. You would think it just sounds like gibberish or it sounds like noises, but in
Yeah.
fact, it's like silence, you know?
Mm.
Because you don't understand. So inside my mind, it's this complete silence because I don't understand anything that's going on. Until I heard meshi, meshi, meshi so much. That was my first Arabic word. I'm like, what is this meshi? It's okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to the story. Flew to Ismailia on his microbus as fast as they could drive. Met the old guy, the head of the school, and I was looking around. I'm like, where are the other teachers? There's nobody here. And it was in Ramadan.
Yeah.
And, man, I was scared, dude.
Mm.
It was like this old British guy, and he had some young Egyptian kids everywhere. And I said, well, I need to call my family. And he's like, no, you can wait. No, I need to call them and tell them.
That
So
you're
we
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they took me to downtown Ismailia to get a phone and this and that.
And 18 years ago, there wasn't like many phones around,
No,
especially
no.
here in Egypt.
No, I had to buy some little plastic, you know?
Yeah.
Little plastic phone and a SIM card. Finally got through and told my family I'm okay. And I'll tell you what happened. Let's take a step back. Well, on the flight back from Egypt, we stopped I think, in Germany somewhere, and I sat beside an Egyptian professor from the Cairo University
Yeah.
for 4 or 5 hours. And I got to know him, and we were getting off the plane. He's like, if you ever need any help in Egypt, here's my number. Give me a call. So, going back to the story. He got me back to this apartment, this giant apartment with, you know, all this gold furniture, and it was weird for me, you know?
Yeah.
And
Especially
I
everything actually is here's just different. Like even the culture and even everything is just different. Like the school systems here is just different. Like 100% different.
Completely different,
Yeah.
And there was nobody around. Really, I kind of freaked out. I said, you know what, man? I'm leaving.
You're going back.
I'm going back. I sat there and waited until everybody went to sleep and got my bag and walked out to the highway, to the Ismailia highway, and got a taxi back to Cairo.
That's so.
I pulled a
wild.
runner, as they call it in the teaching community. I ran away, man,
Yeah.
and just got a hotel in Heliopolis, the Beirut Hotel. And I said, you know, I'm already here. I'm not just going to go back home. You know, I'm going to try to stay here.
Yeah.
And so I called the guy, called the professor that I met and he said, well, let me see what I can do. He called me the next day. His sister worked at some school in Cairo. I went the next day and interviewed and got the job and started teaching English out in Harem at a school called...
That's just 100% different from what you're actually doing, which is art.
Yeah. But I thought, you know what? I've made it here. I'm not going to go back home and say, well, I couldn't even make it one day. I'm going to tough it out for a year.
Yeah.
You know, just to say I did.
And even if anything just happens, you can always book a ticket and just go back.
Yeah, I had that
Yeah.
option. You
Yeah.
know, I always had that. I always knew I could just run to the airport, but I didn't want to. I wanted to. I'm already here. You know, I want to try to enjoy the experience as much as I can, even though it got off to a rocky start. You know.
Actually, yeah, the start sometimes is always the hardest part.
Yeah.
Like after that, things get easier, and you just like you adapt to the
I
environment.
had to adapt. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
It's a long tail, man. So then I started that school, and no offense, man, but Egyptian teenagers are rough.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree with you
I
on
couldn't.
that.
I couldn't control them.
Yeah.
I remember at this school, I made it 16 days. I quit after 16 days
Yeah.
at that school, and I told them I just can't, and they're like, "We totally understand." You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were good
Because
enough
for sure
to pay
they-
me
they
for
won't
my
tell you
16
anything about
days.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They knew I just wasn't. I wasn't equipped to handle it. You know.
Yeah.
I
Especially
didn't-
that you didn't understand Arabic very
I
much.
didn't understand Arabic.
Yeah.
I
So
was
you
fresh.
don't even
I didn't
understand what they're
understand
saying.
Anything. I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
understand
yeah.
anything at all. And so I quit, man. I was like, I can't do it. I remember I just, I put my head on the desk at one point. I'm like, no. I can't control it. They're not listening to what I say. You know, nobody's following my instruction. Nobody's doing anything I'm asking them to do. And so I quit that job. And going back again, before I ever came to Egypt, I was applying. I was sending emails out, and I sent an email to the head of art at AUC.
Yeah.
And she said, well, if you're ever in Egypt, come see me. So I quit that job, and then I called her. And I said, I'm in Egypt. She said, well, come see me. And so I went to AUC back when it was at Tahrir Square.
Yeah.
Got
The
hired
old one.
there for teaching art. Yeah.
Yeah.
Teaching art history and design. Part-time.
Part-time.
Yeah, part-time.
And what? And
Back then, the salary was so low
Yeah.
for a part-time instructor at AUC, you know?
Yeah.
And did that for a year and finished the year at AUC. So quit 2 jobs within 2 weeks and then got on at AUC and did a year.
But at least the best part there that you can understand, like they understand English and they can communicate in English, right?
Yeah,
Or they
yeah.
didn't.
Like all the professors were all speaking English and everything, yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of felt like home a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I'd been teaching at a college before, so that was like my forte.
Yeah.
You know, instead of teaching English to 14-year-olds, I'd never
Yeah.
done that.
It's yeah. No one actually should ever take this job,
Yeah.
right?
But I feel like now that I look back on it, you know, it really made me a better teacher for sure, and it made me a stronger person to be able to go through all that, you know.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. It's a very tough story actually.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
tough story.
Yeah.
And it doesn't end there. And so about halfway through, after about 9 months of here, you know, I met an Egyptian girl from Mbaba.
Oh.
Spoke no English,
Yeah.
zero English, and ended up getting married.
Damn.
Yeah, I sure did.
Yeah.
And we stayed here for about 6 months until I'm like, well, let's go home. And the strange thing is, we're divorced now, but we ended up moving back to Texas.
Both of you?
Both. I took her back to Texas with me,
Damn.
resumed my old job. We were married for 6 or 7 years and finally got divorced, and she's still in Texas and I'm back in Egypt.
Oh.
We switched countries.
But how's she living there? Like,
She ended up
she's-
getting the passport and getting a job, and yeah.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Was it that easy back then?
It wasn't that easy. It took a while.
Yeah.
It took about a year of waiting. No, 9 months for her to get the visa and
Yeah.
everything.
But like, are
But
you
I
still
was
in
like, oh,
contact
of course she married you just for the visa, but that's not what it was.
Yeah.
She had no idea what a visa even was, to tell you the truth. And, but anyway, it's odd.
Yeah.
It's odd that I switched countries with the next wife.
Yeah. But you're still in contact with her?
Yeah. We're on
Yeah.
friendly terms.
Yeah. You have
I see her
any?
occasionally when I go back home to see my family.
Oh.
She doesn't live far away.
When was the last time you went?
The last time I went, so my mother died about a year ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I went and saw her. Her name was Ma.
Hmm.
She came. She lived about 2 hours away. She drove. Went to her and my mom were friends.
Yeah.
Went to her funeral and everything. Saw her. Yeah.
That's quite a story here.
I got a lot of stories like that.
Yeah. Do you still work right now? Something other than this the job?
Well, I'm starting Alson, head of art in September.
Oh, wow, that's
Actually worked there before about 3 years ago.
yeah.
I worked in the British section as an art teacher, and I did a year. And I thought, well, I want to take a break. I keep taking and just focus on my shop and my art. And then the opening came for head of art, and I applied and got hired. So I'll start back in September.
So right now you are fully adapted, right? Can you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you understand Arabic a little bit?
Nos.
Nos.
It's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
But I haven't, let me say I haven't been here for the whole since I was 30 years old, for 18 years. I spent a year, I went home for a couple of years. Then I took my Egyptian wife, we went to Qatar, spent a couple of years in Doha teaching,
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi, the Gulf area.
Yeah. So tell me when you left Egypt, right?
Yeah.
What did you go? Where did you go to, and what did you do then?
I went back home and took a job teaching back at my old college.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I got the travel bug. A lot of international teachers, they get this, you go home, it's like, well, I know the culture. I know the language. Everything is predictable. And after about 6 months, I got bored, man. I want to go back.
Yeah.
I want to travel again. I want to go someplace new again. I liked it.
Because once you try
I like
it,
the
it's like
challenge,
an
you know?
addiction, right?
Yeah, it's kind of addiction.
Yeah. It's like when you go
What you
back
imagine.
when you go back to your main culture or to your main home, you just feel kind of off. You need time to adapt. Just like at the time
Right.
you wanted to adapt when you came here,
Yeah.
right?
It's called the reverse culture shock,
Yeah.
which is sometimes worse,
Yeah.
Worse than the original culture shock.
Depressing, right?
Yeah, you get down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like there's not the unpredictable nature, when like even now, the reason I'm still in Egypt because it's still unpredictable for me. I'm not bored. I think if I ever got bored, I would leave,
Yeah. You always have
I
this
don't-
chance.
Yeah. I thrive in the struggle of it all, the
Yeah.
little daily
The best part,
struggles
actually.
and yeah,
The best part is the
you
struggle.
need that. You need the push.
Yeah. So tell me, you went to Doha and then you went to Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
right? So tell me first about the Doha. Which one was the first? The Doha
Abu
or
Dhabi first.
Abu Dhabi? Yeah. So tell me about Abu
Oh,
Dhabi.
I got another story. Oh, it's another story. There. Another story. Well, I got a job at Abu Dhabi, and I didn't last long there. There was something wrong with the ticket. They were going to fly me. They provide the airfare. So there was something. I said, well, let's figure it out. There's something wrong with the ticket. Something wrong with the ticket. And finally, I just said, well, listen, I'll pay for the ticket since there's some issue, some confusion. And then when I get to Abu Dhabi, you can reimburse me for my ticket. It's like $1,000,
Yeah.
And give me
And
my
back
money
then,
back. And they said,
when
okay, good.
when was that?
Man, that was 2014 or 15.
Oh, okay. So there was still a bit like inflation. Like right now, $1,000 is a lot.
Yeah. It was a lot then for me. I only had like 2,000. So I said, well, I'll spend 1,000 on my ticket, and then when I get there, they'll give me and I can make it a month until my first salary. Little did I know. And then I got there, and there was I don't know what it was. There was some confusion. And I said, okay, I'll take my 1,000 back. And they're like, no, we paid it for it. I'm like, no, you didn't. I paid it myself. And it went on and round until finally I said, this is bullshit. I want my $1,000. And I shouldn't have said bullshit. It's little did I know the owner of the school is like some prince.
Oh,
Some
that's
some
yeah.
Emirati prince, and I've insulted the prince. And so the head of school's calls to me like, oh my God, Clint, you must apologize to the prince. And I said, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I want my $1,000, And again, it's like deja vu. And I said, you know what, fuck this, I'm going to the airport, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I got to the airport.
Just like what you did here in
That's
Egypt.
what I did here in Egypt, but they had blocked me. They put a travel ban. I insulted the
Ooh.
prince, and he put a trial. I couldn't leave the country. And so I had to go to a lawyer and all kinds of stuff, and finally they let me leave. Okay? And I went to Doha.
No, directly from Abu Dhabi to Doha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight to Doha. Got a job in Doha and went to Doha.
Mm.
And stayed there for a year.
How
You know?
was this one?
It was okay, not bad. Not bad. A little dull,
Yeah.
It was in a British school. It was kind of on the outskirts. It was kind of like in a compound,
Yeah. That's actually like easier, right? Easier, like British people, they understand you. At least they speak English. So,
But I'd already had a taste of Egypt, The way,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the street life. I had Egyptian friends. I found in Doha, it was similar to what you're talking about. They're separating the
Yeah.
Qataris from everybody else.
Yeah. It's
And-
so bad.
It was. I never made any Qatari friends. They're segregated. It was okay. It's not a place that I would go back to. And people are there because the money's good. There's no taxes.
Actually, this is the worst part, right? Like being at a place, having no friends and having no one. You're just making money. It's
Yeah.
hard, right?
Yeah, it was hard. And so the apartment we lived in was it was all British people and Scottish and Irish
Yeah.
people, and of course all they did was drink. That's all there was to do there.
Yeah. I actually hear that British people and like Scottish people exactly they drink a lot, right?
Which was why,
Yeah. It's like a water to them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I like to drink as well, but I couldn't keep up with them.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with them. But I did a year there, and then I think I came back to Egypt. I keep coming back to Egypt. There's
Yeah.
been several times 3 or 4 times that I lived here for a year, And they said, okay, I've had enough. Actually, if something's funny, you know, because I travel back and forth all the time. Every time I go back to Texas, the customs pulls me aside from the passport control. Because they question me, you know, like, well, what are you doing in Egypt, or are you a member of any organization, and this, that, you know, they're suspicious somehow.
Yeah.
Like, why do you keep going back to Egypt? And so one time I was coming back, I decided, because I got a job in America, I said, well, I'm done with Egypt. You know, I've had several years around the world, I'm going to settle down. Time to retire back to the farm. And so the lady's there, and I'm telling her, and they're asking me all the questions. I said, well, don't worry, I'm never going to Egypt again. I'm here forever. And she wrote it in the computer. Well, lo and behold, I ended up going back to Egypt. And 2 years later, went home for Christmas. They pulled me out, and it was the same.
They told you that.
And she's like, it says right here, you're never going back to Egypt again.
But like, what's their problem with that?
I'm not sure. I think maybe after 9/11, they were kind of cracking down and suspicious on foreigners, like going back and forth to the Middle East.
It's kind of suspicious.
Yeah. They always just held me for an hour or two and let me go. Just
So where else did you go? Like, you went to Doha, to Abu Dhabi, and Egypt. Where else?
That was it.
That was it.
I visited Kuwait City. I went there for an interview and decided.
Yeah, Kuwait is wild. A lot wild, right? It's not like here at all.
Yeah, it's not like here. And I'd already experienced, you know, the Gulf, and I kind of had enough, you know. They call it in the teaching community the golden handcuffs. Because there's a lot of people from around the world. They go there. The money's good for a teacher. You can have a driver and a maid and all this stuff and live a really kind of
hard. It's like a
elaborate
lifestyle,
as you said, just as a teacher there, but you're also restricted, and you know.
Yeah. In what way?
Like the socially.
Oh yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like a lot of other foreigners. I prefer Egypt. I like Egypt.
Yeah.
I kept coming back here. Now here I am. I'm still here. Still here.
So 18 years. 18 years you've been here.
Off and on, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a total of the past 18 years, probably a total of, I don't know, close to 10, about half in Egypt, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go a step back to your high school years.
Okay.
Tell me about the stories that you had there, because, you know, every high schooler had everything, you know, had like a crush, had a relationship for sure, had everything. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Pretty typical. Small town, high school, had the girlfriend. Well, things didn't really start to happen. It's like in a car. I don't know what's the driver's license here in Egypt? 18 to get a driver's license?
16.
Is it 16?
Right?
It's 18.
18.
It was 16. It was 16 in Texas, so it's 16 years old.
16 years is
I got a car, man. I got a job at the grocery store and saved my money and got an old car.
Yeah.
And then everything changed after that. You know, I was gone every weekend and we had friends. We played, we played sports, football, baseball.
Football is like American football.
Yeah. Broke my arm, still got the scars to prove it. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Because I just fell wrong and somebody fell on top of me and broke my arm. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. But the fact that they had to make a surgery on it operate on it is hard, right?
Yeah, it broke most of the bone, so they had to put metal plates.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it though. You know, I love football. I loved
it was
the
good.
adrenaline. You know.
Yeah.
The adrenaline of it all.
Actually, this is the main reason why I train, because it's like, I don't know, it's just like it separates you from life. Like for like 3-4 hours maybe the training session, you don't feel sad, you don't feel tired, you don't feel anything. You're determined, right? Which is hard actually in life, to find something that you're very determined to do, right? Just like actually this is the podcast that I'm doing right now. I feel alive doing it. Like I train a lot. I am a pharmacist right now. I'm a pharmacist, so I study pharmacy and I work at like couple places like VIA and stuff like that at AUC. But the main thing that I really feel alive doing it is the podcast. It's talking to people, because like the podcast made me like sit down with you right now and listen to your stories.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Yeah. So what exactly do you feel alive doing? Like arts or what is it? Yeah. And also tell me about your college years. How was it?
Okay, well let's go back. Yeah. So in high school, I was kind of I was a skater. We skated. We skipped school. We smoked weed. We did all the things, you know. And I was kind of a below average student.
Yeah.
It's weird when I look back on it. I was like a
Yeah, the
D
fact that you are
student,
here
C
right now is
student.
hard.
Yeah. In high school, I was a C or D student. In college, I was a B student. In graduate school in art, I was an A student. So the higher
Yeah.
the education, the better I did.
Yeah.
You know, when I could really focus on what I love, which is art. You know, painting and drawing and studio art.
Hmm.
It's where my true love is. You know, I've been doing it since I was a child. You know, so that's my true love. And I went to college and bounced around. You know, I still feel like I'm still haven't found what I'm looking for, like the old U2 song. I'm still searching, you know. I'm still learning. I'm still searching.
What was your idea on the best life or the ultimate life? You know, the ultimate goal, like when you are there, you are just satisfied with everything. When you was like at college, maybe, or maybe in high school, because in high school things were like you started to pride up and you started to like think better of life at like maybe at high school years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what was your idea on the like the best life or the ultimate life?
Well, back in high school and college, it was pretty conservative, and I achieved that life. You know, to be an artist and a professor and be married and settle down
Yeah.
and this, you know, and that's what I did. And it didn't work out, and so it's basically I can separate my life from then until 30 until I got on the airplane.
Like you got a whole new life after 30.
Yeah, completely changed.
Yeah. And what do you think? Which one was? Let's not say better, but which one were you more comfortable at life? Exactly, like when you wake up in the morning and you're just comfortable doing this.
You know, I think we look back on our life, you know, especially once you get my age, and you say, well, I could have, just one small decision could have
And that
changed
changes everything. Yeah, the butterfly
What
effect.
would happen if I would have not gone to Egypt and stayed at home or went somewhere else? I would have a completely different life.
Yeah.
So there's this random quality, you know, there's this random luck that just happens.
Yeah.
And I've decided, you know, that I'm not going to fight it, and I'm going to
Just go with the flow.
go with the flow and let it happen. You know, I've never thought about had a business or a shop or anything like that before I had one, and now I have one and I like it. I love my shop. You know, I love meeting people. I love meeting new people. I love the thrill of finding something that everybody wants and reselling it, and it's like a hit, you know. Rather than, you know, I've been teaching for a while. And teaching, you do it's rewarding as well, you know. You get a lot back from it, but at the end of the month, you go get your salary and that's it. Here, you know, I'm working for every pound that I make here. You know, I find the record and I hope somebody's going to buy it, and when they buy it, it's like a dopamine hit. I get pleasure, I get satisfaction
Doing that.
from doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like you
It's
got
not-
a
it's not-
reason waking up in the
right.
morning.
And it's not all about the money. It's about just, you know, always. And I tell the guys who work here, since we ended up, we hired several people. That it's not okay. We have to pay the rent. We're selling stuff, but also it's more than that. I like to, and I've discovered I like having a place open to the street that anybody can walk in. I discovered I like to have my finger on the pulse of the culture somehow. You know, I feel like I've created my own environment out of my own world. There's not a lot of shops like this. Sherry's,
Yeah.
which is great, a couple of others, but you know.
I love it here. I love it here. Here feels like home. I remember the first time I came here it was like a year ago. I came here with a friend of mine. We bought this the camera thing, the film,
Yeah.
camera film, like a year ago. It was the first time I met you personally,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Damn, that's it's a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I met a lot of people here.
So tell me, what was the best memory that you have with this store? Or like the piece that you were looking for a lot, and then you find it. Like as you said, it gave you the dopamine hit.
The best memory, I think overall, was like to realize that the point to where I know I can predict what's going to happen in next month and know that I'm not going to close. Because in the beginning, I had no idea. Like every month, like maybe there's not even a market. Maybe all of a sudden it's just a trend. Nobody wants records anymore. You know.
Yeah,
It's
actually,
all
very
digital.
few
Nobody
people
wants
doing
to buy
that.
a paper book. You can just read it on a PDF or on a Kindle or something. You know. So I was never sure until after about a year or two. Then I see like, oh, okay.
People
So
are
we're
coming.
making about this much sales every month, pretty consistently. You know, I think that was my favorite part. You know, the part that it hit me like, oh, okay. So as long as I maintain and do my job, and keep feeding the shop and getting new things and putting my energy and my attention into it, then people will continue to come, you know? And it's up and down, and I'm definitely not getting rich, but
But at least
enjoyable.
yeah, spiritually you're getting richer.
I'm getting nourished somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
Somehow, yeah. And if you really think about it, it's all just, you know, some people would call it junk, you know? It's old records and books and things, they're just scattered around the city, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think it's my job to put it all in one place and make it
It's like-
convenient for whoever walks in.
It's like an urban treasure, just like you said. Like when we look at this part, I think this has like English, this has French, it has Arabic, it has anything. What is the oldest? I don't think that maybe you will recognize it, but what is the oldest book that you have in the store?
The oldest book, well, we just sold it. I had a Walden from 1875, I think. I had a copy of Walden. Every once in a while, we'll find something like a real treasure. Look, it's worth $500. You know,
Yeah.
$500 book. I bought it for £40.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people don't realize the treasure that they are holding.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
You never know
exactly,
what you'll
yeah.
find.
Yeah.
Occasionally, we run across something like that. You know, a very rare book. One time, I found a diary from the 1870s.
1870s.
Yeah, from the 1870s. It was a diary. It was an art student, and she had let all her friends draw in it, and it was amazing. You know? It's a piece of personal history.
So since the art is like your main concern and like the biggest thing that you think of, why do you think that the art is going? In my opinion, I don't know. I'm not gonna bullshit. So what do you think is the main reason why art being downgraded, been replaced with digital art, just like the NFTs and just like all of that? You know about the NFTs, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so just like the NFTs and everything, when you look back at the art and you look back at how delicate and how things were back in the day, like Leonardo da Vinci, like all these people, like when you look at someone like Leonardo da Vinci, I think he made like the first anatomy book of the human, and
Sure, yes,
right?
yes.
And he made many art pieces, and they were very delicate, something like the Mona Lisa and something like that. It created something different in art. But like when you look at it right now, it's hard to find someone who actually have like the talent, or not the talent, they have like the determination to do something like that, because Leonardo da Vinci made like what 6-7 pieces in his whole life, but all of them right now they're worth millions of dollars, right?
Sure.
So what do you think was like the main point where things get downgraded?
Yeah. Well, it's hard. That's a high bar, Leonardo da Vinci, to compare anybody to.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
he was drawing the airplane and the helicopter and cars. He was inventing all this in his mind.
Yeah.
400 years.
I remember he
before
was working for the defense, right? He was working for the defense army, maybe, or something like that.
Designing tanks and things.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah.
Way back when I don't think there was electricity back then.
No, of course
Right?
not. This
No-
was in
no
the
electricity, yeah.
Italian Renaissance in the 1500s. You know.
Yeah.
Early 1500s. Yeah, so he was definitely a man ahead of his time back then. I think it's all tools, you know, like you say, like everything is going digital, but even still, people always they come back to the physical. This is why this shop is still open. People,
Yeah.
you know, they thought when the Kindle came out, and the e-reader, that books, nobody would want to buy a paper book anymore, because you can put 1,000 books on your tablet. So why care? But people still buy books.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing with records. Actually, vinyl records are the largest selling format still to this
Still,
day.
yeah.
In 2022.
I personally love to acquire
More
things
than
like that.
anything. Yeah. People like to own their music and and have the physical and the ritual of putting the record on the player and
Yeah.
putting the needle on, and 20 minutes you have to turn it over and things like that. I think it's all tools. I'm not against digital at all. I think it's just another tool, but I think it hasn't shown me where it's improved art. You know, like you say, like Leonardo da Vinci or Picasso. It's just a tool. You know, it's a tool that people. As far as the NFTs, I don't understand it well enough, and I feel like if I don't understand it, you know.
Actually, it fall like these couple of days when there's what is it called? The things that they put in the American bank system right now, like the 1% or the 0.5% maybe. Yeah, the interest rate. The interest rate made like the crypto and made like the NFTs lose $200 billion because right now people, instead of going and buying like Bitcoin and buying things like that, they just go and just put their money in the bank and just get interest over it. So right now the things, everything like that just got destroyed, and which made me realize that no matter what, people will always just go back to the as you said, to the physical format of the thing, right? Because like I remember like couple days ago, there was an NFT that was sold for $350,000, which is like money some people don't even make in their whole lives, right? Someone sold it again after everything fall down, like the 2 billion crash, as I just told you. Someone sold it, I think, for $150 maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
someone
a huge
like
gap.
yeah, that's different world that we live in, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it goes back. I mean, I'm pretty conservative in that. I feel it's so ephemeral, the digital. It could just be going like that, like you said.
Yeah.
You know, I trust land. I trust
that's
real estate.
Yeah.
That's what's called real estate.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not opposed to it. I enjoy digital art, and it's another tool. There's some people can do amazing things with it, but I see it just like it's like a paintbrush. You know, it's another tool as far as when we're just talking about specifically art. You know, you can do things with it that you cannot do with a painting canvas. The same thing with photography. You know,
Yeah, photography is hard. It's hard to find a vision, right? Like some people just don't have a vision for photography. I personally don't like.
It's a certain talent, I guess.
Yeah.
For sure.
So there's a thing that I really don't understand at all. You know, this art that, and mostly in the art gallery and the exhibits and stuff like that, where you just find someone like painting some stuff. I and some like regular people who are not very into art, right, wouldn't understand it.
Sure.
But the main creator of it, or some people who are like very interested in art, would understand it. So tell me, like, what do you see when you look at something like that? Or what do you recollect when you look at something like that? Some of the art pieces, at least.
Right. Well, it depends. Are we talking about the business side of it? Because if we talk about the business side of art, if you go look at the galleries, they're not gonna show a student here from Gavila. They're gonna show an already established name. You know, they see it as an investment. You know, an established, famous Egyptian artist usually. You know, who's already has 30 years, a big, huge body of work. Their work has been sold to museums and galleries and private collections and things like that. And so they know and their investment is not that big a risk with it because they can always resell it for more. And it's going to go up, you know, in value because, especially after they die, unfortunately. So the old cliche that, you know,
so yeah, he will not be able to make something like that again.
You can't make any more, you know. There's only a certain amount. So we've got that side of it, and then we have the side of people creating, you know? Like me, for instance, in the beginning, I wanted to make an art gallery. I love art, and I realized, like, people aren't buying paintings, man. People are buying records and books, and so that's what I started focusing on. And actually, I just tried. I would consider it a success. I mean, I got a lot of attention of starting to have little art shows here.
It's like you became like a trademark here. Like, anyone who comes to Zamalek will just know RetroGrade directly, right?
Yeah. I wish I could do more art. You know, I had a couple of shows, a couple of open calls. I did like a 35mm photography show, an abstract painting show.
So you also can photograph, right? You are into photography as well.
Amateur, you know, I'm not a professional, but I like photography. Yeah.
The retro one or the new one? The film ones.
Yeah, I like film cameras. Yeah.
I love it so much, really. Yeah. It was the first thing I bought here from the store. The film. Yeah. So let's go back to your childhood as well.
Okay.
You grew up listening to country music, as you told me. Is that correct?
Country and rock,
Country
gospel.
and rock.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, what is like the most valuable pieces to your heart, or the things that when you listen to it, you feel sentimental?
Yeah. Well, when I was young, my dad was kind of in and out of the house, and he always had a record collection. Yeah, I remember, have you ever seen Jimi Hendrix, the album cover, To Axis Bold as Love? It's really wild and psychedelic. And I remember that striking my eye and listening to that Jimi Hendrix record over and over. And the Moody Blues and Creedence Clearwater Revival. And then you had the country stuff as well, the Hank Williams and things like that. And then my grandparents were religious and they would listen to like gospel.
Yeah.
Like Southern old gospel Christian.
Johnny Cash used to do that.
Johnny
at
Cash
his
and
beginning,
Elvis and
Yeah.
like the older generation, that kind of stuff as well. So there was music always in the house. You know, my father especially loved music and listened to music constantly, and me as well. And so when I got to high school, I feel like I've always been kind of behind the times on the musical side of things. I was still listening to the Allman Brothers.
What was the newest
Leonard
thing
Skinner.
back then? Like, what was the trend?
In my generation was like, when I was
Queen?
in first of high school was like,
Queen, the Beatles, those people?
well, the Beatles have always been popular.
Yeah.
But in that point in time, it was like hair metal, like Motley Crue,
Oh, yeah.
this kind of very shallow kind of rock, White Snake, that sort of the hair metal, and right before grunge, before Nirvana and Soundgarden. So
Yeah,
that was kind of
yeah.
my generation when grunge hit, when I was probably about 16 or 17 years old, and killed hair metal. It died. Nobody wanted to listen to that anymore. You know, and everybody put the flannel shirts on and the Converse, and yeah. So that was kind of, and I loved it as well. And gangster rap at that time.
Yeah. Like,
Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg way back,
yeah,
back in the day.
that's the 90s.
Chronic. Yeah, the
That's
90s.
the 90s, yeah.
When MTV was still MTV.
Yeah,
You know?
not like now at all.
Not like
Not
I
like
haven't
now.
seen it forever.
Yeah.
But back then, man, we just had MTV playing 24/7 on the TV. This is the only channel we listened to. You know?
Yeah, because I think back in the day there wasn't so many TV channels, right?
Yeah, I grew up with 3 TV channels, man.
Yeah. What were there?
There were like the news channel, the nature channel, and like the public TV channel, like selling
Oh.
furniture and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't until after we got cable that I got MTV. I was probably 15 or 16 years old. And that's back when like all the new stuff, you know, the newest album came out, the newest video, everybody would be. We can backtrack even further. I remember when Michael Jackson's Thriller came out.
Okay, that's 80s.
It's in the 80s,
80s.
84.
Yeah.
They actually stopped the school. There was no teaching. The teachers rolled in the TV with
them
the
listening
VCR,
to
and
Michael Jackson.
everybody watched Michael Jackson Thriller for the first time.
Yeah.
And Star Wars as well. When Star Wars came out,
That's also 80s, right?
Yeah, in the early 80s, when I was in elementary school, I was 10 or 12, they closed the school and everybody went to the mall, to the movie theater and watched Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
The best thing about back in the day, everyone lived the moment. Like right now, when something releases new, then you can just wait and watch it, like literally anytime you want. Like there's no, what it called?
The attention span has become so
Yeah.
small. Even myself,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I'm of the generation, the last generation pre-internet.
Yeah.
You know,
I-
I was probably,
I-
when the first time I used the internet, I was 18 years old. I was already out of high school. My
Yeah.
first
When
year
was
of
that?
college.
90s maybe?
Yeah, early 90s,
90s, yeah.
92. I think the internet had been around, you know, since 90 maybe.
Yeah.
But it was the old dial-up Yahoo. It would take 30 minutes for the page to load, which was really cool. I thought it was really cool, you know.
Yeah.
And there was chat rooms.
It
and
was
stuff.
revolutionary back then.
Yeah. But I spent there was no cell phones when I was in high school, you know. It was only the landline. If somebody wanted to talk to me, they would call. And if I wasn't there, my grandma would say, "So-and-so, your friend called." And then
Over
I'll call
the
him
Yahoo?
back, you know, in 2 days I'll call him back.
Hmm.
Always, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm so old-fashioned. Even when cell phones came out, I was like the last person to get a cell phone. I thought, why in the hell would I want anybody just to
call
know
me
where
anytime.
I'm at all times? Just call me and say, "Hey, where you at and what you're doing?" You know, I thought that was very odd.
Yeah.
That was a very strange concept, you know, for people of my generation. But of course, you know, we going with the flow. And
Have you ever thought like the world will be so advanced like right now? Right now you can literally just, you can think of something and just like see it in front of you when it comes to like,
yeah,
comes
it's
to,
great. In one way, it's great to have all that information at your fingertips. You know,
but it's like, I believe personally it's like, what it called? Like a plate like that has two sides, really.
yeah, sure.
Because there are things that sometimes you just see things that are just like you shouldn't be seeing it, right? Sometimes you're just like something that Snapchat maybe, so like as you were saying, everyone can see where you are on like there's a map on the Snapchat. I don't know if you know about that or not. There's
I
like
refuse to download Snapchat.
yeah, yeah, that's good for you.
Yeah.
There's like a map on the Snapchat where you can see all your friends like right now, like literally, and it's like 24 hours reloading, right? That's kind of weird. I personally don't like it. I don't
There's
use
something very human about missing your friends or your family and the
but like,
anticipation of
it
seeing
becomes
them.
addiction. It becomes addiction when it's like 24 hours, and then it makes you sad when you're alone. Makes you depressed, right? Like when you
I
are
can
just
see how that happens.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah. It's really not that great. You know, if I can like take a step back of the social media, I would personally do that for the mental health, because like you will always compare yourself to others. Like even personally, I'm not perfect. Like sometimes when I see someone like hanging out, you know, with his homies and friends like that, I just get sad. Like, why am I not doing that? Although I do that, but like at that time, why am I not doing that? Right? When you see someone getting famous and getting cars and getting like everything that a person would want, you compare yourself to it. It becomes an addiction, right? It becomes sad.
Yeah. Well, comparison is a thief of joy.
Yeah,
Ever heard that quote?
agreed. Yeah.
You know, it'll steal your happiness.
Yeah, I heard someone talking, I think on TikTok maybe, was saying that some people would like to change their lives, to have your life, like, but like the time that you spend sad, some people would love to have the amount of problems that you have, because to them it's like nothing. To them it's like, you know, you have a home, you have a bed, you have a Wi-Fi, you have water, you have everything. Some people just don't.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
It's good to be grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's another thing I like about this culture. My favorite word is alhamdulillah.
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 Whatever happens, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
I like that concept.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Sure.
So tell me about your memory. Have you ever been to shows?
Where?
Shows?
Like like concerts and things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to,
What was the best one, or what was the most thing that has stories in it? Like, you know,
I guess the
anything?
biggest would be Guns N' Roses, 1991.
Oh,
Appetite
that's
for Destruction.
wow.
Me
I
and my
always listen to
girlfriend and our
that.
friends.
Yeah.
We went and saw GNR, you know? Yeah, that was great. And then after that, like Willie Nelson, country names and stuff like that.
Willie Nelson. I wish I can like attend to something Willie Nelson that he does. And also Johnny Cash. You know, the thing is, Johnny Cash died at the same year I was born.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's maybe it's a
Miss Johnny
coincidence.
Cash.
Yeah, I really miss this guy. You know, it's he did it because he loved it. Like when you look at him, I don't think that he ever learned music or ever learned anything. He was in the Navy, I think. I think he was in the Navy maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
And he kept just he got the guitar and just kept like messing with it. And right now he became the biggest country musician of all time, right?
And one of the
He became a
very
Hall of
few
Famer.
country music, yeah, for sure, who transcended the genre of country music.
Yeah.
Like punk rockers love Johnny Cash, heavy metal people, everybody loves Johnny Cash. Why?
He got his, you know,
because
this,
he's authentic, you know. It's
Yeah.
about the
just like Elvis as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did this. What it called? What was it called? I forgot to remember to forget.
I'm
No,
not
they-
familiar with it.
Yeah, this song, Elvis did it first, and then Johnny Cash, when he did the cover for it, Elvis told him, "This song became yours."
Oh,
Like
yeah?
right now, everyone knows this song specifically for Johnny Cash. No one knows about it for Elvis anymore. Yeah. Do you think Elvis would have been bigger if he just traveled out of America? Because I hear that his publicist like fucked him for doing that, because his publicist didn't have like a visa maybe or a passport or had some problems. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with it, but I don't think Elvis could have gotten any bigger. He was already, everybody in the whole world knows Elvis anyway. And the thing about Elvis Presley is that even nowadays, when you think about it, it's almost like a caricature, it's almost like a cartoon. Oh, it's Elvis, everybody knows Elvis. But back in the day, right when he began, it was revolutionary, you know? That the beginning of rock and roll, which was only a trend. It was considered a trend, it's going to last a year or two and die out and be gone. And of course it hasn't, you know? And the influence from the Beatles, and name all the great rock bands who were influenced by seeing Elvis on TV. So we can get a guitar, you get all the girls, you get the money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a revolutionary thing, yeah, for sure.
But he also had a voice. Like some people doing it for the money, but he had a voice. He had something to love doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And this is actually like makes me realize sometimes some people right now they are in the music industry. They don't do it because they love it at all. They just doing it because they get money from it. Just like the rap industry here in Egypt. It died. I don't think there's someone. There are people listening to rap right now, but as in productivity, it died like in 2020 maybe.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, that's always the thing with any artistic kind of endeavor, like music or art or writing, that if you do something and then you start making money and it becomes commercial, there's a pressure to continue to do
doing
the
it
same thing.
the way you are doing it.
Yeah, and you see that oftentimes in bands and in musicians, that their first album is their best because they were free, they weren't after money, they were doing it for the love, and then whatever the record company say, well, this was a hit, we must do. You can't go too far away from what you've done. We don't, it becomes all about sales. So I think there's a fine line with any artist or musician or writer or whatever you're going to do. That of course you have to pay the bills. It's always sad.
At the end, you have to pay the bills. Yeah.
Yeah, still have to pay the bill.
What do you think, who do you think was the best like artist of all time? Who just didn't do it for the fame or the money? He did it because he loved it or she loved it. What do you think?
Well,
or a band maybe.
There's a lot of people who've done that for sure. I mean, you look at like Bob Dylan, for instance.
Bob Dylan, yeah.
Tom Waits, a lot of these old folk singers, Townes Van Zandt. A lot of these folk singers who are just singer-songwriters who did it for the love of music. And in writing, you have somebody like Cormac McCarthy. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Amazing writer, probably the greatest American living writer right now.
He's alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's in his 80s. He spent his entire youth writing these amazing books. He would publish them and sell a few thousand, but still living in complete poverty, living in cheap hotels, and became so well known that universities would call and say, we'll give you $5,000 just to give a lecture. And he would refuse and say, it's in...
I'm doing it for the money.
Yeah, I'm not doing it for the money. Everything I want to say is in my book, Often that's the way it happens. Even in art, if you go back to, Monet, the Impressionist artist from the 1860s in France, they were the rejects. They were the ones who were pushing the boundaries, who were trying to revolutionize art beyond the academic, beyond the perfection of painting a body perfectly, and things at the beginning of abstraction. And now,
and that's why it took so many many hours and days doing it.
If you name art, you can't name any of the ones who were doing it for the academic reasons. We all know the ones who were the revolutionaries, who were the outcasts, the outsiders. Over time, that's what rose to the top.
Yeah. That's a nice one actually. That's yeah.
But you never know. I think it takes a little bit of luck. I think we all as artists would like for that to happen to us, Like me, myself, I consider myself a pretty good artist.
Yeah.
I'm a painter.
Everyone, actually, if you don't do it because you think that you are the best at it, then there's no reason of doing it, right?
Yeah, there's no reason to do it.
To do it, yeah.
You can just quit doing it. If you ever make the perfect piece of art, then you can stop.
What do you think was is the main reason, or is the main point where you can just separate your life? Or separate the money from getting into the thing that you are doing, like not getting crazed by money or not getting crazed by things or fame or all of that.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had that experience, so I don't know. I would assume that I would be the same person. From what I've heard, people who became successful, basically it doesn't change you. It just makes you more of what you already are.
Like
so
if you are a good person, if you are a good person, you will.
If you're a generous person,
you're
going to be generous. If you have a lot of money, you're going to be even more generous. If you're a miser or you're selfish, you're going to be even more selfish. If you're an asshole, you'll be even a bigger asshole. You hear stories about people who, they win the lottery, or all of a sudden they're a multi-millionaire and they still won't even tip the waiter. What I mean?
That's so bad.
That's an asshole-ish.
Yeah, this is so bad.
Yeah. You watching the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial?
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see the
have
insight.
Johnny Depp. Yeah,
see Johnny Depp. You can tell he's a very generous person. Like somebody wanted to sell him a painting, an artist, a struggling artist. And he said, not only will I buy your painting, but I will rent you this studio and
to do whatever you want with it.
Give you your materials, and I'll try to sell your paintings to all my rich friends. Now, most people aren't going to do that. You know?
Yeah, actually, the best thing about this specific thing or trial that no matter the outcome of it, people will still support Johnny Depp because it made him a very good person. It made him appear as a very good person, right? It made him like the public eyes seeing it, and at the end of the day, the public eyes is like the most important part. If you became an influencer, or if you became like a famous person, which is sometimes crazy to be honest, because sometimes people think that when they become famous, they can still be the same person and speak just the way they speak, because they don't understand how influencing they are, right? Just like the people who use their status just to speak about nonsense, to speak about things that anti-science, which in my opinion is the worst thing someone can do, right? So it's crazy. Crazy world we live in.
I think it's similar, like you can tell, like Johnny Depp, he's an authentic person.
Yeah.
People react if you're authentic and true to yourself. And Johnny Cash, we can give examples that people, you can feel that,
Yeah.
If you're telling the truth to yourself and to others, and you're not trying to deceive anybody, you're not trying to put on a front.
We're not trying to look fake at least, or look perfect, because no one will.
Then people see that and it's attractive. It is to me. I'm attracted to those kind of people. That are real. That what you see is what you get. This is kind of the reputation of back in Texas.
Yeah.
The old Western cowboys. They're straight shooters, man. What you say is what what you see is what you get.
Yeah. You grew up in a handmade house, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole house. Have you ever had an experience doing it, or?
Oh yeah,
or just grew up
we all helped with build our own house.
Yeah.
I can build a house. If I want to
Really?
build a house,
Yeah.
I can build a house.
Yeah. Would you rather live in a house that you made by yourself, or just rent a house?
I would rather build my own house.
Build your own. Yeah.
I'd rather build my own.
What is your idea on the best, or not the best? What's your idea on your future? Because you had so many things that happened in the past that changed your path and changed the idea of how you think of life, right? So what do you think about the future?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, I'm taking it one step at a time. Right now, I'm in a good place.
You're happy where you're at?
Happy. Yeah. I'm happy.
It's hard to find, actually, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It took you how many years to be happy?
Well, there's always ups and downs, but I feel like, at my age, being 48, I can look back on my life and all my experiences, and I can
Learn from it.
I can learn from it. I can reflect on the mistakes I've made, and still not be too hard on yourself, and realize that probably this is where I am, and this is where I'm meant to be. This became kind of my what's Nietzsche? What's the quote? It's love your destiny. You must love your own fate. Memento mori. Love your own fate is the best way to live, and this is kind of where I'm at. I'm happy with my shop. I'm happy with my job. I'm married. I'm happy with my...
You're married right now?
Yeah, married again. Yeah, I'm a hopeless romantic. Just keep getting married over and over.
Actually, it's the best thing of life, right? It's not losing hope in love.
Yeah, it's not losing hope. And I still feel like... And because I see people... Maybe that's the reason I'm still... That a lot of people like me, you get the travel bug. Because you go home and you see... Nothing against them. That's their life. But the people who've never... They got their job, and they've been that way since high school.
They settled. They are not doing anything else with their life.
Yeah. They stop growing,
Yeah.
I feel like
This is the worst part of life, right?
Yeah. I feel like I still have inside of me is still a child,
Yeah. You want to satisfy this person. You want to satisfy this different person inside of you. So what is what is the advice that you would love to give to someone from your past, or someone like me, like a teenager? What's the best idea? Or the best advice that you can give me, or give anyone who actually in this age? Because right now I'm telling you that because right now I'm actually I'm not gonna be perfect. I'm not gonna say that I'm fine with my life, but we all lost. And I think actually that all this generation is just lost, just like me, right?
I think so.
Right. Sometimes you do something that you love so much, and then the other day and you just hate it. You don't want to do it anymore, right? So what is the best advice that you can give someone like that? For sure from your all your experiences, all your travels.
From my own personal perspective.
Yeah.
What I would say.
Because you also, as you said, you grew up when you were just 16. You had all your life when you were 16, right? You had a car, you had a girlfriend, you had a house, you had everything.
I've experienced that several times over. I
Yeah.
feel like I've lived a couple of lifetimes,
Yeah.
in a way. in a way. I would say, I don't know, generally, and I think there's a deeper truth to it, that to be true to yourself, to not be influenced by what people think about you, I think is important. You know, to choose the right people to surround yourself with. There's more than one, you know. Choose the right people that are gonna, poison you or suck your energy or take advantage of you. Choose good people that love you and want the best for you, and don't give a shit that much about what anybody else thinks, man. There's the old Buddhist philosophy of tend your own garden. You know, don't worry about what's going on and what anybody's saying. You know, what matters is your own life. So you have to, in a way, I wouldn't call it being selfish, but you have to be focused and concentrated
And just on your life.
on yourself, you know? And keep a beginner's mind, which is another Buddhist philosophy of...
What does that mean?
That means, the quote is, in the expert's mind, the opportunities are few. In the beginner's, there are many. To approach everything that you're going to approach as a beginner.
Yeah.
You know, it's like killing the ego in a way, you know? We can take our experiences, we learn from them, we get more skilled at whatever we're doing, but in the end, as we approach something, approach it with an empty mind, like you've never done it before, and then you have more opportunities. There's more room to be creative, more ideas can generate from not just thinking, well, I already know it all. You know, I'm an expert in this field or this field, and so there's nothing more to know, and so I'm not going to listen to anything else, or I'm just going to go in this direction. I think it's better to have an open mind and an empty mind and approach everything as a beginner, which I think as an artist, as a painter, is it just happens naturally. Every time you make a painting, when you're done with it and you have another blank canvas, there's a blank canvas staring at you. So you have to approach it like you've never done it before, you know? So that's the advice I would give you.
Yeah. Do you think that this is the best part where you just of life, when you can just like quit all what you're doing and just like do something new? Let me rephrase it. Like if you're doing something for like years, you know, let's put it like that. You're doing something in years, and then you're not satisfied. You believe that you can continue on doing it because like this is stable. This is your present. This is what you're doing right now. Or you just leave all that behind and you just take a step and just like start to have a new life. What do you think is like, or from your opinion for sure, what do you think is the best part?
It's probably not a very good advice to give you, but I say do it. I hear that story a lot. The story, well, especially in the arts and the creative, people are working in banks and pharmacies, and they're like, well, we have to, and it's very practical. It's a very Egyptian thing, actually, isn't it? That your parents want you to be a doctor, engineer, pharmacy.
But you want to be something else. You
want to be a filmmaker? No, you do that as a hobby because it's not a real career. You can't really make but I think, maybe because I'm kind of, I'm kind of wild. I've always kind of done what I wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I've sacrificed financial security. I've sacrificed not seeing my family all the time. I'm very far away from home, etc., etc. A lot of sacrifices. But I think in the end, you would be happier, I couldn't imagine.
If you took the step, you would be happier.
Just like the soul-crushing job, and like, well, it pays the bills.
I'm around, like, people.
Especially if you have a passion for something,
Yeah.
If you really enjoy something, you're good at it. Like I can tell right now, you're very good at podcasting.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's an honor.
Questions. We're having a very flow, and the conversation is going well. Just from my point of view, because I've always just been like, but my family encouraged it, even though they were old-fashioned, and like, you want to be an artist, go be an artist. If you fail, that's on you, man.
Yeah. If you can pay the bills at least, then then you can turn it into your life.
Sure.
Yeah. That's actually quite a good advice, because I personally, sometimes I just feel like I'm weighed down, Sometimes even from like, I'm not trying to bash someone in my life, but sometimes I just feel like I have so many people that I know right now that they're just like, they're quite different than me, You know, it's not like they are bad and I'm good, or the opposite, or like I'm bad and they're good. It's like that's we are just different. Like we have a different lives. We grew up with different mindset. We grew up with different people. Like it's you know, sometimes the past proves the future. Sometimes the past is, you know, changes your future, right? Like you just can't come out and just say, okay, I'm gonna be something. Like I just can't come out right now and say I'm gonna be a basketballer and be around basketballers and be all of that, because my whole life I'm interested in basketball, but I'm not I'm physically not fit for basketball. I'm mentally not fit for basketball. So if I became around people like that, it would be toxic for me. It would be something that I'm wasting my time on it. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think about? Because I'm pretty sure that you face it a lot, the loneliness of life. How to deal with loneliness? It's like how you personally deal with loneliness, at least.
Well, loneliness is different from being alone.
Exactly.
You know?
I agree in that. Yeah. Sometimes you are just alone because you want to, but if you are alone and you don't want to, then that's loneliness.
I can distinctly, I haven't been lonely in a long time, honestly. I remember I remember the feeling of loneliness.
As a teenager?
In my 20s, and loneliness is when you feel like people don't understand you.
Yeah, that's like you are in prison, right?
Yeah.
You are in a prison with no walls, I would call it. Yeah.
But again, going back to just my raising, I think everybody's influenced by their environment, you know?
Exactly.
The nature and the nurture. That I grew up on a farm. There wasn't any entertainment. I had to go within myself, you know? I had to be creative. I never got bored. I always said, people who say, I told the guys who work here, if you say you're bored, you're fired. There's no way you should ever be bored here. You have all the books and music, and you can do it. You can have your friends over. You know what I mean? People who are always bored are basically boring people. This is what I think, you know? So I grew up, I had to find my own entertainment. I had to entertain myself, and that was creating fantasies, different worlds in my imagination, or building something or something. It was never in my family. Nobody's bored. Nobody's just sitting there like, blah, what's there to do? No, we find something to do. So that gave me, I think that gave me, it gave me a strength, you know? Like when I moved to Cairo, like I have an internal strength, like I can be alone. I know how to be alone. It doesn't bother me.
And this is hard to get. This is like very hard to learn to be alone, right? Because I personally, when I'm alone, sometimes as you're saying, sometimes I feel bored, to be honest, which is sad. Like I hope that one day I can learn this, right?
Yeah, it's a good skill.
Yeah, it's a good skill.
To know how to enjoy
how to be alone.
Yeah, how to be alone.
Yeah. But actually, like later, maybe this year, some things that happened that forced me to be alone, or forced me to be like not around the people that I used to be around, which made me sad, to be honest. But then right now, when I look at it, I kind of learned to be doing things on my own, at least. Like back in the day, like 1 year ago, maybe I would never shop alone. See, it's something this simple. 1 year ago, I would never shop alone. But right now, most of my shoppings are alone. Like most of my hangouts are alone. Like sometimes when I say that I'm going out, I'm going to do something, like after college maybe or something like that. I do it alone.
Yeah.
Right. It became like part of my life to be alone right now. Which sometimes I believe it's, sometimes the fate is telling you something, like that you don't want to accept. I personally, I love to be around people.
Yeah.
But right.
It's a balance, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes, like, especially this year, exactly, I just felt like the future is telling me, no, just learn to be alone. Learn to be not around so many people, because later on it becomes toxic to you. It becomes like, it becomes not you, you become a different person. And this thing I realize a lot, because right now, when like how to say it, when like so many people that are just not like me, and I don't feel comfortable, they feel that as well. They feel that I'm an outsider, because I felt like this year, the whole year, it changed me to be depending on myself.
Right.
Yeah. Just like this podcast, like I had a plan for it. I had like many people I invited to it. I told them, yeah, I want you to work with me. But then it ended up just me and my brother here.
Yeah.
And he's like I believe he's like as important as me here. Yeah, because he's doing everything like that.
It's probably better that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly, for sure.
Yes,
Yeah. Life is tough. Takes you from places to places, right? Yeah. Especially as you said before, you would never believe that if like when you were maybe 18, just like no 19 because I'm 19 right now, and if I told you when you were 19 that you are going to end up in Egypt working and loving living in Egypt, I don't think that you would understand it.
I would never know.
You would never believe it.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, tell me what is your favorite memory in life? Just in your whole life. What if I told you that you're gonna have like one day to revisit a memory from your past, what would it be? Revisit, live the whole day again.
This one specific day.
Yeah. Maybe not
I have
specific.
several, yeah.
Yeah.
I have several little points, phases of life, everybody goes through certain phases. But I'll never forget, like when I said about getting my first car, that was such a thrill that I think I haven't been able to duplicate.
Yeah.
It's like someone doing cocaine. The first hit of cocaine is the best, and then they chase it.
Yeah.
And they
And
never
will never
get
get
there
it. They will
again.
never get there. Yeah.
It was like the whole new world opened up. I had a car, I had a girlfriend. I could go anywhere I wanted to. I remember we spent the whole summer, me and my cousin and my brother, and we had some girls down the street in the neighborhood, and we would work for my grandfather on the farm, building the fences and feeding the cows and doing all this farm work all day in the summer, and it was hot, and we were fit, and we were tan, and at 5 o'clock we would all take a shower and go and pick these girls up and go get hamburgers and milkshakes.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a beautiful time.
That's the best time.
It was very, it's still very clear in my mind,
Yeah.
of the feeling that I had from all these first experiences. I think a lot of people are like that probably,
When you look at it right now, do you miss it? Like, do you want to live that again, or you are happy that it happened?
I miss
Because
I want that feeling again,
Yeah.
I try to recreate it to a certain point, but it will
never be the same,
It will
yeah.
never be the same.
Actually, same thing. Like, there's something that my father told me a lot, and my mother told me a lot, that sometimes in life things will happen, and you will just you will not miss it. You will be happy that it happened, but you will not miss it,
Yeah.
right? Is it like the same thing, or you miss it?
Similar. No, I don't necessarily miss it. It just stands out in my mind, just that feeling of complete freedom.
Yeah.
And I've always tried to live my life that way, as free as I possibly can be.
Mm.
As free as I can be.
Yeah. This is the best part.
I think it's important to try to be free. Meaning, like, if you can do what you love to do.
This is like a jackpot. It's like you want everything in life.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you really love like settling down, or just like keep moving until you're like 80 or 90 years old? You will just keep moving, or eventually what will you do? Like settle down and this is
I
it?
feel like I'm kind of settling down. My family, ever since I started going abroad, they're like, when are you going to settle down, Clint?
Yeah.
You're 40 years old, you're still bouncing around, from one country to the next, from one apartment to the next, from one wife to the next. When are you going to settle? And I feel like now at my age, I'm kind of slowing down a little bit and settling down and really in a good place. And
Yeah.
in a very good place. I've got my business, I've got my art, I've got my job, I've got my wife, I've got...
So you're eventually settling here in Egypt, or will you go back to Texas?
Well, we never know. We never know. I'm happy in Egypt.
This is the thing that you will never know, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about growing old in Egypt. I don't know. I kind of take it 1 year at a time,
Yeah. This is the
I
best
signed
part.
a contract for a year for teaching. And then looking beyond from 3 to 5 years. Hopefully, I've never had children. My wife and I are trying to have kids right now, and I'm running out of time. I need to, if I'm
It's
gonna
not like
get
you
to-
will. It's not like you are running out of time. The thing is, I hear this quote. It's saying that if inside of you is still this child is still inside of you, you will never grow old. You will never age is just a number. Because right now I'm sitting and talking to you. I don't feel like I'm talking to like an
Almost
old
50
person.
years old.
Yeah,
Almost
yeah,
50
sure.
years old.
I feel like I'm talking to someone my age, right?
Yeah.
but someone my age with
I feel like
so
that
much
excites me,
experiences.
for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm 10
Yeah,
years old.
I think like you have an experience here in Egypt just as me because like you've been here in 2000 since 2000 and I'm in here and I'm alive since 2003.
Right.
So it's like you have more experience than me here in Egypt.
Yeah. I feel like it keeps me young.
Yeah,
It
this
does.
is the
I
best
feel
part.
like if I go home, I'll get old or something.
Yeah, this is
There's a
never
feeling
do that.
for some-
Never do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like the challenge, the struggle, the not knowing. I think you have to have that. If you look at these people like win the lottery, who've never had anything, and they win $100 million, they destroy themselves.
Yeah.
Or they spend it, they blow it
Drugs
all,
and cocaine
they,
and all
they
that.
all overdose. You know, that's what happens. I think you need. So I think we should say alhamdulillah and be grateful.
Alhamdulillah.
For,
Yeah.
for the challenges, you know, for the challenges and the struggles in life. I think it's important.
Mm.
I think it makes life much richer when you, especially when you the hard work. If so, you know, it's like the old cliche. You know, nothing. If it's worth it, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
You know, like working out.
No one, no one will ever have it easy actually, or no one will ever have the best life easy. Some people actually do, right? Some people do in life. Sometimes I look at people like princes and all that. They have like a free ticket to the best life of their lives.
Right. Yeah. I
right?
guess the material.
But I guess the one who builds themselves up just like you, I think they will always have a happier life. Because what is the most like important or not important? What is the best part or the thing that you really like here about your job?
I don't think I have anything right now, like a specific object or a book or something very special that I can't live without. But I would just say, you know, I like how my shop, how it is right now. I like how it's going. I like the people I meet. You know.
This picture, you're talking to yourself?
No, I had a black and white show with only black and white art, and that was one of the pieces. And then I just asked them, let me just keep it and hang it here. You know.
Yeah, it looks good actually.
Yeah. I feel like I want to outreach to the community. I want to have my finger on the youth cultures to somewhat, you know, I want to know what's going on. I want to, you know, maybe that's keeping me young as well.
Yeah.
And introducing people, introducing young people to music maybe they're not that familiar with, or books.
You know, Kanye West was saying something that he was saying. I watched his interview like today in the morning maybe. He was saying that he will never take an advice from someone who's older than him because the young generation or the ones who are living right now, they know what they want. Or not they know what they want. They are creative. They have like a freedom of creativity, right?
Sure, like I said, the beginner's mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Is an important place. Is important to have that. So it's like the old adage in the teaching career that you can have the old teacher who's been there 20 years. You would think, well, they've got all the experience.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't know shit about how to like be social with the
or
child.
they've never grown beyond. They do it for the paycheck, or or they have their way and they think that's the only way. And then you get a new fresh teacher out of college who has ideas that they've never thought of, who can relate to the students better, who they can understand them better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. I think all life is kind of a balance, to have that experience and that knowledge, but also that freshness of being able to open your eyes and to see new ideas as they come to you, and to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. You know, instead of being stuck in one kind of.
And this was the thing that we were saying a couple minutes ago about how to just like how to see things with a beginner's mind, because they will always have their ways. They will always have many opportunities. You know, sometimes I look at it when, especially in training, because I've been doing this training thing for like 6 years now, and I've been working like professionally with it, and I have a license for it because I can't work without license. I have a license for it for like around 3-4 years now. I had it in my second year of high school, which was crazy. No one did that. Like I remember on this specific course, I was the youngest. I was 16. Right now I'm 19, so that was like 3 years ago. So I was 19. I was the youngest person there. I wasn't even allowed, actually illegally, like from a legal side, I wasn't even allowed to participate and stuff like that, because I don't know. They required 18-year-olds, but I just didn't tell them that I'm 16 because I acted like an older person. So I remember this very much. This specific lecturer told me that I'm pretty sure that you will be the only one who will succeed here. And eventually, after like around like 12 sessions maybe, or 10 sessions, classes, I remember I was the only one who actually passed. We were like 12 or 13, and literally I was the only one who passed. And I still remember this to this day, because it was hard, because I was the youngest. You know, some people, they have experienced more than my entire life in training. I remember some people were in 40s and 50s taking the course with me, yet I was the only one who succeeded in it. Because, you know, the thing is, I didn't really study it. I focused, I read, and I applied this on my training. And I applied it on the people that I was training. Right now, 3 years later, this is my life. This is my main work. This is my main income, actually. Like, the podcast is really not making me any money. Like, I just do it because I love it. But like, the training is the main source of income to me right now. Like, actually, the most thing that I'm proud of is that every single equipment here that I'm recording with right now is from my own money, like from the own training money, which is like the you know, yeah.
Feels good, huh?
It feels so good, actually, right? Yeah. Just like it's just like you were building something. Like, as you told me, all the shelves and all the furniture here is handmade, right? It's just like that. You know, the best thing about life, it takes you to places and to things that you never think that this is your life. Like, I never thought of my life as a pharmacist, actually. The reason why I went to pharmacy is that I liked the science of the human being. It's really crazy. It's really crazy. Like, especially when I keep studying on it. I keep studying on how something with $1, a pill with $1, a psychedelic pill with $1, it can turn off all the muscarinic receptors in your brain and makes you like whatever you can think of, you can see it in front of you.
Right. Do you know the Andrew Huberman, Dr. Andrew Huberman podcast? It's great. He's a neuroscientist, and they get into all the systems of the body all the time. It's very interesting.
Yeah. What about it? You listen to it?
Yeah, I listen to it all the time. Yeah, it's very interesting. He has guests all the time, you know, like for your sleep and your diet and for longevity and for your exercise, and like the optimum kind of things you can do, you know, to optimize your health and your mental health and your physical health and all that.
I believe that like the physical health and the mental health is the most important part. Like, it's more important than it's more important than being rich or being anything.
Sure.
Like the physical part of it, like it's crazy, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as I was saying, like, imagine just a $1 pill can make you like in your own heaven in your mind, right? Sometimes I think about it and I just like observe it as a matrix, right? Like, sometimes you are not even able to distinguish the reality from a dream, especially when you are dreaming, right? So imagine if all what you are doing right now is really isn't free.
Isn't that odd, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
That we're just like a chemical, we're like a soup of chemicals and electricity, and you never know exactly what's real or what's not, or, you know, is the decisions I'm making
is real or not?
Is it really my decision, or is the chemicals in my
do you ever think about it? You ever like sit down and just think about it? Because sometimes I do, actually. For sure, right?
Yeah,
you know, I was watching like a podcast a while ago, the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah,
you know him, right? Yeah, he's the best. I wish one day I can be like him. Yeah, I was watching him the other day, and he had a guest over. And he was telling him that he did a psychedelic, that he was searching his doctor. He did a psychedelic that he was searching, and then he realized that he literally lived in his own mind for 6 months. Like, he slept, like the whole trip was like, I don't know, 7 hours maybe. I can't recall. But in his own mind, he lived for 6 or 7 months. He had a wife there. He had a different shape. He had a different personality. He had a job. He was talking about it. He was sleeping and waking up and sleeping and waking up. You know, having his wife. Everything, and he just did this for 6 or 7 months. And then when he woke up and then realized this whole time he was just in his apartment, 6-7 hours. With the same, his physical form, it made him realize how maybe what we are living in right now is really not real.
Yeah, right? Maybe that was DMT or something.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's interesting about the psychedelics, because when LSD was discovered, it was legal until the 60s, until in the United States anyway, until Timothy Leary and the hippie movement, and then the U.S. government made it illegal. They didn't like it. But these
Because
days,
it's crazy. It can make you travel for just $1,
yeah,
right?
But these days it's starting to be more accepted that there's scientists looking into it to treat depression
Yeah.
and anxiety.
He said that to
like
mushrooms.
little micro doses of psilocybin mushrooms and stuff.
Yeah.
When we were teenagers, we would go walk around in the cow and pick off the cow patties and eat mushrooms.
Yeah.
And trip out in the forest.
It's crazy. It can kill you, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you got to know which one, which
Yeah,
action
yeah.
to take. Yeah,
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
sure.
You know, I actually the thing about microdosing. I studied it here in pharmacy. I studied it, I think, like last semester or something like that. There was someone, I believe he was Greek, maybe, that he knew that they are going to poison him on this day, on this specific day. So the thing that he did, he microdosed on this specific poison, because at that time, I think it was cyanide poisoning. So he kept taking cyanide.
He built up his immunity.
Yeah. So at the time that they poisoned him, he didn't die. He felt sick for a couple of days, and he was
That's
alive.
clever.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometimes when you look at the past, you really think, actually, yeah, I want to talk to you about this. You really think that the past, they were more advanced than us, like the pharaohs and the Greeks and all of that?
I don't know if I would say more advanced. I think a lot of stuff, a lot of their knowledge from the ancient Greek and Rome, like, it's fantastic. We're still using it to this day. You know?
Yeah. It's crazy how most of the science that we are using right now is Greek, right? It's crazy that when was the Greek Empire, the 900s maybe?
Pre
Jesus, right?
yeah, 2000 BC to what is it? 2000 to about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then the Romans after.
Yeah, the Romans were crazy as well. You know the thing about the Spartans? I remember that they killed every single person who wasn't like fit, like every single person who was like who had autism or who had a physical disability. They killed everyone. That at a war, I remember, I read this book. At a specific war, when most of the men died, the only people who were left in the Spartan Empire were just women.
Really?
Yeah, it was just so fucking crazy back then.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a crazy world, right?
Yeah, it's still a crazy world. You know,
It's still a crazy world.
But back then, like, there wasn't the value of human life as
Yeah,
like it is.
not like now. Yeah. What do you think about this? All these problems that's happening right now. You really think that maybe some like atomic war will happen and all of us will just get vanished of life?
Well, it's
Especially
always a
Egypt.
possibility, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
especially
so-
nowadays.
Yeah, it's
Especially
so-
nowadays, because right now, what happened? Like all this, Russia did this thing that you just can't buy oil from them anymore without having without paying with rubles, right? Rubles.
Right, yeah, they're trying to rid the U.S. dollar, get off
Yeah,
the
yeah.
U.S. dollar, etc. You know, it's so complicated, man. I'm not very political,
Yeah,
but
it's the best part. You know, you have a healthy life without politics, right?
yeah. I'm tending my own garden. You know, I
Yeah.
keep up with the news occasionally and
Yeah.
see what's going on.
It's very depressing.
I think, yeah. I mean,
Thinking
like,
about
my
the future is
personal
depressing
feeling
itself.
and my personal opinion is they're still good in the world, but the people, the elites and the governments are all completely corrupt. That's what I think. I mean, it's all the military-industrial complex. Somebody's getting extremely rich on the backs of people dying and people starving.
Yeah, that's so bad.
You know, I think it's
Yeah.
evil.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, though, especially the older I get. You know, when I was in elementary school, we went to school to Washington, D.C. to see the White House and the
Yeah.
Capitol building for the government class. And outside of Washington, D.C., in Pennsylvania, there's the group called the Amish. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Yeah, I
They're
think
a
I
very
heard
kind
that.
of extreme Christian sect who reject all modern.
Oh
They
yeah.
still ride horses and buggies.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
to this day. No electricity. They ride horses. They grow their own food, and they're completely pacifist. So meaning they have what's the term? I forgot the term for it. A conscientious objector, to where they refuse to enter into any military force.
Yeah.
They refuse to even put like cloth over their mouth when they're out in their field, so they won't kill a fly, so they won't swallow a fly. You know, completely pacifism. And I think the older I get, the more I'm more of a pacifist. You know, I don't see the justification for any of it, frankly.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think it's kind of useless for somebody like me to even think about it. Honestly, you know, like I say, I have my little life here, and
Yeah, there's no reason to be like to interact with the outer world.
and it's affecting us though. Of course, you know, inflation's going up.
Especially, yeah. Especially everything is getting more expensive. Like, you know, the things that I used to buy like a year ago, right now I don't think I'll be able to. like from like if you can buy 2 pieces of clothes a year ago, right now you just buy one. If you can buy 2 things back in the day, you'll just be able to buy one. Like I remember when I used to buy gold, because it's the most stable like asset that you can have as someone in my age. So I remember I used to buy like a one gold pound. Is it called gold pound, right? I used to buy like a gold pound back in 2011 maybe or 12. It costed me 2,200, something like that. Right now it's like what, 9,000, 10,000 maybe. It's crazy. So yeah. So it was so great having you, man. We shared so many good stories. Everything was perfect today.
Good. Yeah,
I'm so happy to see you, man. Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.